My name is Samira and today we are going to discuss about economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. In that previous video, we did discuss the brief definition of economies of scale and diseconomies of scale, and today we'll go a little in depth about that topic. Let's see what that topic has to tell us. Okay, just a little recap. Economies of scale is financial advantages or falling of average cost of producing something in very large quantities. And diseconomies of scale means rising of average costs when a firm becomes too big. Large firms can usually produce more cheaply than small firms. The size of a firm has an important effect on the average cost of production. This is because of the economies of scale. This is representing economies of scale and diseconomies of scale on a graph. Whatever you see on the left side towards the graph, it's all economies of scale, and anything above this point is diseconomies of scale. As you can see, point A over here is when the company reach its economies of scale, which means anything that is produced beyond point A will go into diseconomies of scale. Okay, in the y-axis we represent costs and revenue, and in the x-axis we represent output. To further explain this graph, we will first talk about what is economies of scale and diseconomies of scale with an example. So, if a factory is producing 70,000 units of chocolates for $1 each, it needs one truck for transportation. This is their peak of their economies of scale, which means it is this point of their economies of scale, point A. If they produce 80,000 units, which is 10,000 units more than its peak, then their average cost will increase, causing diseconomies of scale, because they would need to hire another truck to carry the additional 10,000 units of their costs, and it will increase. This is diseconomies of scale. So, to explain that even more simply, we say, in my hand, I can hold up to 10 chocolates. And I can produce 10 chocolates and carry those 10 chocolates using my both hands. But if I'm making 20 chocolates, my hands are not enough because my hands can only hold 10 chocolates. So I would use the help of my friends or my sister or any other person to help me carry those another 10 chocolates. And it will not be cheap because they might charge us pay them extra money so that they are helping us. So that will be a cost. That is the diseconomies of scale. So economies of scale is when I produce 10 and I can transport 10 using my hands, and it will become diseconomies of scale if I have to use my friends' help so that they can help me carry the other 10 chocolates. I hope you understand it better right now. And this is how it is represented on a graph. It is a long average cost curve. There are two types of economies of scale: internal economies of scale, which happens inside the company, and external economies of scale, which happens outside the company. First, we'll discuss about internal economies of scale. Internal economies of scale mainly comes with purchasing economies. Large firms that buys a lot of resources get cheaper rates. Suppliers offer cheaper rates to firms that buy products in bulks. I'm sure you went to some shops that sell their chips in bulks. So when you buy chips in bulks, it is more cheaper than you buy single packet chips each time. So suppliers can offer cheaper rates to firms which buy in bulks because they are buying more and they are large firms. So suppliers can offer cheaper rates. It is exactly to how we are going shopping and buying bulks of chips instead of buying each packet of chips separately. Next, marketing economics. It will be better if a firm which has lot of deliveries to make have their own delivery vans or truck instead of hiring a distributor. It will reduce their costs. As we talked about earlier about my hands and chocolates example, it is the same way. It is better if I have to use my own hands because I don't need to pay myself anything for carrying and distributing the chocolates. It is very cost effective. But if I have to use my friend's help, then I would have to pay them money because they are helping me. That is what this in marketing economics is talking about. It will be better if a company who has lot of delivery vans to make have their own delivery trucks so that they don't need to pay the distributor for helping them. Next, technical economies. Technical economies occur because larger firms are more efficient than smaller firms because they invest more in machinery and specialization than smaller firms. Larger firms can hire new technology, like in a restaurant, in a large chain of restaurants, they cannot hire so much of labor. So they can put some technology like robots. In Japan, they use robots, which is more effective than having labors. So they can be more cost effective than smaller firms and they're more efficient. Next is financial economies. Large firms can get cheaper money. They have a variety of sources they can choose from. If a large firm is in lack of money, then they have an option to sell their shares, whereas small firms don't have this option. Larger firms can negotiate with the banks for lower interest rates, and banks can agree to that because they believe that large firms have the capacity to pay the whole loan back. This is not the case with smaller firms because the banks don't believe that they can pay off the loan. So negotiation is not very easy. Next is managerial economies. Large companies can afford to keep an expert manager for each department, whereas small firms cannot afford that to keep so many managers, but only one because each department it will be expensive. So in a large firm, they can hire so many managers, one for each department because they have huge turnover and assets, as we talked before in our previous video. They can hire managers for each department, even though they're expensive, because they have so many things that has to be done efficiently. But small firms cannot do that because they don't have huge turnovers, unfortunately. So they can only hire one manager, and it might not be efficient because a manager can expertise in only some things. For example, a person is expertise in chartered accountancy, then he cannot manage the things of production or company expansion, all those stuff. So it might be difficult, and they can't do that because they don't have huge turnovers, and it's very expensive to hire each one for each department. Next, risk-bearing economies. Large firms are more likely to have a wide product ranges than small firms because they produce only one product. Consumers may buy or may not buy the product. If they don't, the company will be going into loss. To avoid this risk, producers will produce a range of products like Plan A and Plan B. So, to simplify this point, we can say that our mothers, when they cook food, they cook a variety of foods sometimes because one kid can like or dislike a food that a mother cooks. So she cooks different types of things so that they can choose from. If they don't like one, they can eat another. Just like that, in risk-bearing economies, a wide range of products are produced by large firms so that it can be Plan A and Plan B. So if a customer buys one product more than the other, then they wouldn't go into losses because they have a wide range already. And small firms can't do that because they only produce one product. For example, if Parachute Oil is only producing its oil in small bottles, some people might not buy such small bottles because it will not be enough for them. So they might buy another oil which comes in big bottles. So this is what is called risk-bearing economics. Next, now comes external economies of scale. Skilled labor. If an industry is concentrated in an area, there may be a buildup of labor with skills and work experience needed by the company. This will reduce the cost of training for the company. There is also a chance that schools in that area will train the students in such a way that it is beneficial for the company and they might get job in that company. They will provide vocational courses. The definition is here. The vocational courses means teaching a particular skill to a person so that they know the skill and they learn it. Those are vocational courses. Next, infrastructure. If a particular industry dominates an area, the infrastructure will be built in a way that it will be beneficial for the company. So if a company is having its business in ports, then there will be a lot of trucks going in and out, and going in a single lane where there will be cars, bikes, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, all those stuffs, and these trucks might be dangerous in that road. So what will the businesses in the other areas do? They might build a separate road for the trucks so that that company will have its own way for doing everything safely and they will be more quick. So that is infrastructure. Then there will be ancillary and commercial services. An established industry in a region will encourage ancillary suppliers will be set close by. They will encourage the ancillary suppliers to set close by. This will be beneficial for all the businesses. Ancillary services means connected with the production of the product, but not with the main part of the product. So we can say that ancillary suppliers are like for cars. For cars, we can say that the leather is a part of making the car, but it is not very essential for making the part. It is related to the car, which is the product, but it is not the main part of it. So that is an ancillary. So large industries would like ancillary suppliers to set up close by so that it will be easier. For example, if the car manufacturing unit is in China and then all the parts, all the ancillary suppliers and commercials are in different countries, then it will be difficult for this company in China to get all those products from there. So they want ancillary suppliers to set up close by so that they can get products easily, and this will be beneficial for all the businesses in the area. Next, cooperation. When firms of the same industry are in the same area close to each other, they are likely to cooperate with each other so that they can all gain. So if there is a ice cream shops near in one area close to each other, let's say 10 meters radius between each other, then they will all work together so that they all can gain the profits. Next is diseconomies of scale. This economies of scale can be caused by bureaucracy. Larger firms mostly rely on bureaucracy. If it becomes too bureaucratic, meaning by spending too much time and resources in administration, like filling forms, writing documents, making administration services, etc., will slow down decision making and communications, which will rise average costs. Next is labor relations. If a firm becomes too big, the relations between workers and managers will deteriorate, means it will be distant. Managers may fail to understand the workers and they may become demotivated, which is a huge problem. As a result, conflicts may occur and time will be wasted resolving them. Control and coordination. A very large company may be difficult to control and coordinate. Since there will be many plants and thousands of employees, running a company will be demanding. This will require more supervision, which means more cost. This is diseconomies of scale. Huge problems. Next, other limits to growth. Diseconomies of scale is likely to discourage a firm from growing too big. Because as we talked about how bureaucracy, labor relations, and control and coordination, this may discourage the firm from becoming too big. While there can be lack of finance, some businesses want to grow their business, but they are not able to raise the finance needed to expand. Growth usually requires investment, resources, property, investors, etc. But it is considered too risky for money lenders to lend the money because the expansion may be successful or not. If the expansion is successful, then it's fine, or else the business can't repay its risk. Nature of the market. Some markets are too small to sustain and very large companies. Example, a yacht company is limited. Only limited amount of wealthy people can buy yachts because of their cost. Therefore, it will be difficult for the companies to grow into large organizations. Lack of managerial skills. Some businesses may be prevented from expanding because its owners don't have the required managerial skills. Means if a person is only qualified or able to run a business in a small manner, then he cannot control it by himself in a larger company because he might not be very qualified in running the business, employing people of different departments, and etc. Lack of motivation. Some businesses don't want to grow at all. They may be happy running the small business and don't want to take more responsibility. They may be happy with the amount of profit they earn and they are satisfied with it. So there is lack of motivation. These are the other limits to growth except from diseconomies of scale. I hope you understand this topic. I'll see you in my next videos. Bye bye.